You know what's a good idea for a movie? A film about intergalactic aliens invading Earth and humanity banding together to fight tooth and nail to save their home and their species. You know what's also a good idea for that film? To draw inspiration from one of the most infamous stories of all time in the War of the Worlds. And you know what's a terrible idea? To have all of the events in that movie play out on a fucking computer screen. And if it's one thing that Amazon Studios excels at, it's at taking terrible ideas and running with them. Which is exactly what they did with War of the Worlds. Rather than seeing the apocalyptic action from the exhilarating perspective of someone fighting to survive in the streets of one of America's biggest cities, Amazon's War of the Worlds chooses instead to show us everything entirely through Ice Cube sharing his screen, full of news feeds, drone cameras, FaceTime calls, YouTube videos, and chat feeds. Presumably all because Ice Cube would only agree to be involved if he could film an entire movie sitting on his ass in an air-conditioned room. We shouldn't be surprised at this point though. Amazon Studios runs almost exclusively on bad ideas. Do I need to remind you about G20, the Rings of Power, or the Wheel of Time just to take a few off the tip of the shit iceberg? But somehow, adapting the War of the Worlds in this fashion is probably their worst concept yet. Instead of scenes, we get pop-ups. Instead of dialogue, we get chat bubbles. And instead of action, we get Ice Cube live reacting to grainy online videos. It creates a story that's as exciting as clicking through all the tabs on your browser, where the acting is on par with what you'd get from your coworkers on a Zoom call, and where the emotions are only as strong as the internet connection. It's an awful idea for a full-length movie, and the execution found a way to be even worse. And by the end of it, you'd have a really hard time trying to argue that this whole venture is not just a thinly veiled vessel for bringing in product placement money and advertising Amazon's delivery services. The most exciting scene in the movie hinges upon a thumb drive being delivered by an Amazon drone. Ice Cube looks like he's not even qualified to act in a music video at this point, which is funny because it turns out the director of this movie has been directing almost exclusively music videos for the last decade. Now, I don't hate the concept of everything being portrayed on a computer screen for something like a music video or a creative short film. But for a feature-length film, it feels cheap, lazy, and it completely detaches any emotion or excitement from all of the action that's taking place in distant locations with distant characters. By the end of War of the Worlds, I could barely see the movie because I was rolling my eyes so much. And perhaps the ultimate insult was to see that they had the audacity to list H.G. Wells as one of the writers, like he would have wanted anything to do with this abomination. But we'll talk more about this malware masquerading as a movie after we get in a recap of the story. So check your notifications because I just pinged you a spoiler warning. This entire movie, except for one scene that takes place on a FaceTime call from a cell phone, plays out on the computer screen of Homeland Security domestic terror analyst Will Radford. And right off the bat, we already have our first problem with this movie. This guy has 15 programs and 26 tabs running, and we're supposed to believe that he doesn't have a second monitor for any of this. Absolutely immersion breaking, but we'll push on. In between getting incessant calls from his friend at NASA, Eva Longoria, complaining about the weather, and hunting down the location of an internet conspiracy theorist called the Disruptor, Will spends the majority of his time at work spying on his own children. His son is pissing his life away playing video games, but his daughter, his Georgetown-educated biomedical engineer daughter, is brilliant. But not brilliant enough to not get knocked up by an Amazon delivery driver that the dad despises. And at first, I just thought that this was lame. Until I realized the subtext that Amazon's goal here is to imply that their delivery drivers are absolute gigachads that drop off packages and loads, leaving behind baby mamas at every stop. Surely that'll get their driver recruitment numbers up. Anyway, when Will Radford nudges his son to get a job, his son turns around and throws Will's dead wife in his face, which is a hilarious low blow that comes out of nowhere. Back to the grindstone, Will pulls the ultimate hacker move and inspects page elements to track down the Disruptor, a genius move that's equivalent to hacking the mainframe twice. After a quick break to send Facebook messages to his dead wife, time jumps ahead 11 minutes, during which time we have to assume Will dialed up some porn. Will then gets back to work coordinating a raid to find the Disruptor. But everything goes sideways when his drone feeds show him the beginnings of a pesky little alien invasion across the globe. The grid starts to collapse after the aliens' coordinated attacks, and both of Will's children find themselves in trouble. Zoom calls with the Secretary of Defense and other government officials start coming in at a furious pace, and Will has to do his duty in defending Earth while also escorting his kids to safety. All from the comfort of his mesh computer chair. But he finds it hard to stay cool as an ice cube when he first sees the alien machinery invading the planet. When his daughter suffers a serious leg injury, Will makes a heroic effort to find her and save her. Just kidding, he makes it as far as the door of his office, finds it locked, and gives up. Just kidding, he finds a way to hack the door and makes it out to save her. Just kidding again, he finds another locked door in the staircase and gives up for good before retreating to his computer where he remote drives her to a hospital in a Tesla. During the ride, the daughter also shames her dad for their mother's death. Man, these kids go straight for the jugular without any buildup. Then afterward, he has to contact tech support for a password to hack a drone, even though using a password is not hacking. And then he decides that right now, in the middle of this alien invasion, is a great time to draft an email to his daughter on the difficulties of being a parent. This moment gets interrupted by a Zoom call with POTUS, who dubs this the War of the Worlds. Which would be like if they named it World War I before Franz Ferdinand's body was even pulled from the car. Like, you don't know what the fuck is even going on yet. Get out of here. China, NATO, and the US join forces for the war, because I guess the US is not in NATO here. And Russia is noticeably absent, because I guess Hollywood is still sore over that whole Ukraine thing. The world's militaries fight back, and it's actually super easy, as they take most of the aliens down in about 2 minutes, and Ice Cube celebrates from his computer chair, not even bothering to stand up. They discover that the aliens took a very smart approach to their invasion, taking out satellites to hide their approach and targeting pipelines, airports, and sensitive government sites. But on the other hand, they apparently weren't smart enough to wipe out the telecommunications, or the GPS satellites, or the power grid, which would have totally knocked out Earth's ability to fight back. So what are we doing here? Are the aliens smart or not? Either way, smart or not, the aliens eventually launch a cyber attack and knock out the military's ability to fight them. Will's daughter's baby daddy finally makes it to his baby mama, and he uses his insane Amazon driver skills to tourniquet her leg with packing tape. With his daughter safe, Will and Eva Longoria are able to focus, and they discover that the alien tripods are just a diversion. They're actually delivering little cybernetic bugs to government data storage locations. But they're not a diversion. They're a delivery mechanism for the bugs. It's like the characters don't even understand the movie. It's at this point that the movie delivers its main idea, that data is our world's most precious resource, which I'm sure is a mantra pulled right off the wall in the Amazon Web Services break room. And this idea that data is our most precious resource is not only wrong on its face, but this movie takes this idea so far and devolves it into an absolutely moronic concept, which is that these aliens are drawn to data, and they literally eat data.
These things eat data.
Exactly.
No, not exactly. That's not how any of this works. But perhaps, maybe sensing how stupid this concept is, the movie just moves on. Will finds out that his own son is the internet conspiracy theorist Disruptor. His son fills him in on the truth that his own boss has set up Goliath, a massive data-driven network to spy on everyone in the world. Will sees evidence that our government knew about these aliens and that they were drawn to Earth in search of large repositories of data, and that Goliath would surely draw them back. At this point, you might be ready to accept the idea that these aliens are drawn to data that they want to eat, but almost surely you'd want to ask why. Why the fuck do aliens care about Earth's data or want to eat it? And what do they even get out of eating it? Well, these questions are never answered. The movie doesn't even attempt to answer this question or even explore the idea. It's just an unbelievably stupid concept that the movie assumes you'll accept at face value. Anyway, getting back to the shit show, Will's superior finds out that Will is onto him and locks him out of the system. A big blow that sidetracks him for 4 seconds until his son hacks him back into the system. A truly close call. Ice Cube almost had to stand up and do something there.
Fuck!
Will, with the help of his kids, decides that they should plant a virus in their data to poison the food supply. And not his genius hacker son, nor his genius biomedical engineer daughter solve the problem of how to poison the data, but instead the Giga Chad Amazon driver comes up with the solution. They have to work fast though, as the government is preparing to bomb DC and Will's building, and Will says that he'll just stick a thumb drive into the Goliath system. It's at this point that Eva Longoria becomes afraid that because Will be holding data, he'll get eaten alongside of it, as absolute proof that this movie has no idea what to do with its core concept or how it works.
No, the code you will be carrying is data. They're gonna devour you along with it.
There's only one problem with the plan though. Will has no thumb drive. So the Amazon delivery Giga Chad whips out his drone to deliver a thumb drive using Amazon Air. After the swift, nimble drone dodges the attacking alien tripods, it drops off the thumb drive, and Will, virus in hand, reaches Goliath and sacrifices himself. Not in a heroic Independence Day kind of way where he kamikaze flies into the soft underbelly of an alien ship, but by crawling down a hallway in a server room through alien hentai tentacles, getting tickled the whole way, and plugging it in, which somehow causes the imminent bombing of the building to get called off.
Move, bitch! Get out the way!
Yes!
Also, it's not much of a sacrifice because Will lives and sustains 0 injury. Once things cool down, the SecDef calls him and offers him a job to run a government program that would firewall people's data and keep it private from the government. But Will says, no, I'm gonna work against you because you're not keeping people's data private. And the SecDef is just as confused as we are because he literally just offered Will the ability to do exactly that.
I don't understand.
And it's on this confusing moment that the movie ends, and Will Radford logs off for good. Oh man, this movie just got dumber and more shameless the more it went on. Of course, it doesn't help when this movie is all centered on one of the stupidest concepts that the creators made clear even they don't understand. This movie vacillated between feeling like it was written by boomers who don't understand technology and infants who don't understand anything. I think the closest the creators came to understanding anything was when they put the words, "It's worse than you think," in the trailer. Spot on. Maybe some of them were being held captive and being forced to make this movie, and this was a cry for help. That makes more sense than this being an honest-to-God attempt at a movie. The entire core concept of this adaptation, that the aliens come to eat our data, is just presented and never discussed or explored. The movie didn't even attempt to explore this idea or offer any explanation for why the aliens crave the data or what they even get out of eating our data. What the fuck do intergalactic cybernetic killing machines want with a repository of data and all the cheap Chinese crap that cycles in and out of people's Amazon carts? This entire movie is built on stupidity, and as such, it infects every aspect of it. I'm starting to get a fuller picture of why I didn't even see this movie advertised anywhere. A stupid concept demands an equally stupid execution, and that's what War of the Worlds got. I can't think of any way to watch an alien invasion of Earth play out that's less exciting than seeing it through someone sharing their screen full of YouTube videos and news feeds. All of the apocalyptic action taking place across the world feels just as remote as watching a YouTube live stream. You don't feel the weight of it or any of the danger, and thus everything that the characters feel and go through feels just as distant and virtual.
So much destruction.
That's nice, but we don't really get to see any of it because we're just watching a fucking computer screen. None of it feels real, to the point that I legitimately expected that there'd be a twist at the end that this whole event was deep faked. That would at least be in keeping with the infamous first broadcast of the War of the Worlds. But alas, that wasn't the case. They actually thought that people would get invested in a movie where the director told the main character, furrow your brow and act like you're pretending to be busy at your computer at work. And that's 90% of the acting in the movie. He only even stood up like 3 times. And all this was alongside, of course, all of the endless product placement spots for Microsoft, WhatsApp, Steam, YouTube, Fox News, CNN, and Tesla, among many others. And worse than all of that was the incessant self-promotion Amazon was doing.
I can get it to you. Prime Air. Oh, it's the future of delivery. They've been training us for months.
Not only is Amazon Studios one of the only places that an idea this stupid could become a full-length film, But they might be the only place shameless enough to adapt a defining story of the 19th and 20th centuries into this travesty that only exists as a vessel for product placement and advertising their own delivery services. They worked in their own delivery drivers, their delivery vans, their delivery drones, their gift cards, and they even managed to bring up their online shopping cart when trying to make a point about the sanctity of people's privacy. It was utterly shameless. And the movie is getting appropriately dragged across the board by viewers. There aren't many reviews in on Rotten Tomatoes, but as of this recording, it's sitting at a 10% and dropping. And it's at a wonderful 2.4 on Metacritic. There aren't a ton of audience ratings on either site, and I think that's simply because Amazon wised up at the last minute and decided not to market this movie. So people simply don't know this trash heap exists yet. Let's try and change that. There's no suspense for my rating here. Amazon's War of the Worlds, delivered by Amazon and sponsored by Amazon, is a bona fide hate watch, worthy of only your derision and memes. As if basing your movie on a stupid idea and adapting it into a terrible concept wasn't bad enough, the production quality made matters all the worse. The movie looks like it cost $357 to make, including Ice Cube's salary, which was a $250 Amazon gift card, and the rest of the budget covering the terrible CGI. And I'm pretty sure it was all filmed in an afternoon. Yep, this adaptation of War of the Worlds is not worthy of the name, and Amazon should be ashamed of themselves for letting this stupid-ass concept go any further than the first Zoom call where they pitched it. Had you even heard that this movie was coming out? Do you think Amazon tried to bury it when they saw what a steaming pile of shit they had on their hands? How much do you think Ice Cube got paid to sit on his ass in front of a webcam for 2 hours? Let me know in the comments below. And remember to like the video if you liked it, and subscribe to HateWatchers for reviews of other current shows and movies. Thank you for hopping on Teams to discuss this movie that could have been an email with me today, and I'll catch you on the next one.